Hey guys, the new Paldean Wonders trailer for Pokemon Pocket just revealed today, and we have 18 new cards to talk about, and I'm very excited for this set. Now, a lot of people saw the set trailer and these cards and are kind of chalking it up to being a filler set, but might I remind you guys, the last time you said there was a filler set, it was Eevee Grove, and it was one of the most impactful sets that we got in Pokemon Pocket for that time. With that being said, let's check out these new cards. I don't really have an order to talk about them, but let's talk about the basic Sprigatito. Now, would you play this over potentially the Sprigatito that we already have in the game, which cries for help and puts one random grass Pokemon from your deck into your hand? I'm not entirely sure. I think you play this instead of the other one. They both have the same HP, and this one does do damage and honestly does probably have a better art on the card, but I think you play the older Sprigatito over this. It really just depends on what your deck is trying to do. Next up is Fuecoco. I think this is fantastic because you can kind of put this guy into anything. It's a colorless energy move, which means we don't really know what Ceruledge will do. I'm sure it'll require at least one fire type energy, but regardless, this thing says Cheerful Singing will put one random basic Pokemon from your deck onto your bench. Now, this with the new Stadium card, I feel like there's going to be so many new decks that are able to thin their decks out so much faster, even without things like Sylveon. And because I mentioned the new Stadium, I guess we should just jump right to that. And the Stadium being Meowscarada, hopefully I'm saying that correctly. And this is a coin flip stadium. It says once during each player's turn, that player may flip a coin. If heads, that player gets to put a random Pokemon from their deck into their hand. This is so incredibly good, I think. I don't think it replaces Pokeballs because Pokeballs have a specific function to find your basic Pokemon. You never replace, like, this doesn't say it's finding a basic Pokemon for you. It says a random Pokemon. This is more like communication without the cost of trading another card. I believe communication. It's been so long since I played communication that I actually don't remember if there's a cost for this. Choose a Pokemon in your hand and switch it. Yeah, so you have to switch. And this, there's no switch. The only condition is flip heads. If you flip heads, you can do it. If tails, you can't do anything. And I think this is going to be exceptionally strong, especially finding Stage 2 Pokemon because of the other card that was shown in the set trailer. And that's the new supporter card, Arven, another coin flip card. And again, before you guys are like, oh, coin flips aren't good, need I remind you of Lucky Ice Pop? Exactly. If you're lucky, these are the best cards in the game for you. If you're unlucky, you're probably trying to uninstall the game at that point, to be honest. Anyway, so we have Arven here that says flip a coin, which doesn't even matter if you're flipping heads or tails. You're still getting value from a supporter card. Instantly better than TRG and Misty, because if you flip tails with that, you just wasted your supporter for your turn. So this says, if heads, put a random item card from your deck into your hand. This is literally Fossil Excavator, right? This is our only card that can technically, potentially search for fossils in your deck. And for that reason alone, I'm like super excited for this card. Man, I should have replaced my nose strip. It keeps like flying off and it's not even helping at this point. I can't breathe. Anyway, the second part of this card is if tails, put a random Pokemon tool card from your deck into your hand. So depending on how you're building your decks, if you obviously have item cards and tools, this supporter is just so valuable for you. Now, while we're on the topic of supporters, I guess we should just talk about Nemona real quick and what this could potentially suggest. We have no idea what this new Pawmot can do. However, this card says during this turn, attacks used by your Pawmot do plus 80 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon EX. Now, again, we don't have or know what this new Pawmot is going to be. However, we do have this Pawmot, and it already smacks your opponent for 70 and has the ability counterattack. So if they hit you, they're taking 20. So in theory, that's more like 90 damage if they hit you. Now, if you use that Nemona, that with counterattack could take your damage threshold all the way up to 170. If you have a Rocky Helmet, that's actually, what is that, 190, which is insane to say. for a non-EX Pokemon. I mean, there's a lot of comboing needed. You need so many things to go right, but you already know we're going to try to make those things go right just to get that combo to pop off. With the old Pawmot, again, we don't know what the new one does. It could be even better than this. Imagine the new Pawmot actually hits for like 140 and you're adding another 8. Oh my God, that's actually kind of crazy to think about. But those are the new trainer cards that were revealed. We also have a Pawmi that can snipe anything for 10 damage. We have a Charcadet here, which is cut off. It's a promo. It's a fire type 60 HP, and it could punch colorless, which is pretty good. And then we have a Tinkatink for 2 energy 30. It's not crazy or anything. But the thing that we did get that was pretty, I think, kind of crazy, I glossed over it the first time, is this Ceruledge. Now, Ceruledge kind of does what the old non-EX Meowscarada did, however, for 1 extra energy. But that doesn't actually make it quote-unquote colorless. For 3 energy, 2 psychic, and 1 colorless, it has the move Fighting Sword, which deals 70 damage. However, if you're hitting into an EX Pokemon, it's a total of 140. Now, can I direct your attention to the stage of this Pokemon? Being a stage 1 Pokemon, meaning that it's going to get super value from training area, taking your damage threshold from 140 into an EX to 150 into an EX from a non-EX Pokemon. So that in itself, super hyped up for this card. It's over my head the first time when I saw that. Definitely going to be a valuable card, I think. Next up is Cloth. This guy, 100 HP to fighting energy. God, I hope we get fighting ramp, you guys. Literally will be the best set in existence if they give us fighting ramp, regardless of how the trailer looked or the type of cards they showed us. I'm sure there are sleeper cards still in the set that we are only going to see once the set reveals fully. Anyway, Adrenaline Hammer deals 70 damage, and this Pokemon is now confused. I mean, you play this with maybe Tealmask Ogerpon and nothing happens and you're hitting for 70 on a non-EX. That could be pretty good. We have a Paldean Wooper, which means we're getting a Paldean Clodsire. Non-EX, I doubt we're getting the EX again. We got Fido, which, if I can be honest, I'd be super surprised if this isn't a Sweets Relay Dash Bun. And same thing with Smoliv, right? Maybe not Smoliv, but definitely Dash Bun. I can't imagine it not being a Sweets Relay Pokemon. And then this is the same Pawmi, but I think this was a Wonder Pick. And scrolling up even further, we have a new Mouse Hold, 2 energy, triple gnawing, 60 damage. You flip 3 coins. For each heads, discard a random energy from your opponent's active Pokemon. This is cool, but I think the other Mouse Hold is way better, because your damage output is what, 180 or potentially even more than that, right? 240 if my math isn't off. Maybe it is off. 220, I think. Anyway, you can deal a lot of damage with the old Mouse Hold, but this is kind of cool. It just requires an extra energy, which I may not be a fan of. Also, I really like the art on this. It's really cute. And the last basic Pokemon before we finally talk about the EXs is going to be Quaxly. Quaxly, splashing dodge, 10 damage, flip coin of heads. You're kind of immune from damage from your opponent's next turn. Prevent all damage and affects attacks done to this Pokemon. So that's pretty good as long as it's in the active spot. All right, now which EX are we going to talk about first? Let's talk about Gholdengo EX, which requires only 1 metal energy, and it uses the move Spending Rush. It says one of your opponent's Pokemon is chosen at random for each metal energy attached to this Pokemon. All right, for each time a Pokemon was chosen, you deal 40 damage to it. Now, right off the bat, this doesn't sound crazy. However, metal Pokemon have ramp, you guys. We have Probopass here that can Metallic Turbo and then start just dishing out energy onto your Gholdengo, right? So you can actually double Probopass, use this guy, ramp your Gholdengo. This guy gets knocked out, heavy helmet, go into your second Probopass, do the exact same thing, get up to like 10, 20 metal energy on the guy, and then come on in and deal immense amount of damage. Again, it's all random. This is another variation of what Trio EX and Dragonite EX. But I'm kind of a huge fan for it. You know, I want to see what this card can do and how wild and crazy the interactions can be. Like, imagine just dealing 600 plus damage to a Chingling. You know, sometimes it's just about sending a message, really. But that's not the only Pokemon. This new Gholdengo could technically bring back Dialga EX because it also has Metallic Turbo for 2 energy and it has a bigger HP base. If you use this, I don't think you have another Pokemon to swap out because then you're susceptible to a Sabrina and you lose the entire game. But you could use this guy and just start ramping, right? Maybe even Dawn into a heavy impact and you have 2 very strong EX Pokemon. The only thing that scares you in this situation is maybe something like an Oricorio could technically stop you, but you could also run because we have I'm probably spelling this wrong. No, I'm spelling it right. Look at that. We have the non-EX Gholdengo that I guess you could also run with the Gholdengo EX if that's what you're afraid of. And this is also a very gambly kind of card. So kind of a huge fan of Gholdengo. I really am excited to build decks around it and see what it can do. And now we come to our final EX that we're going to cover, and that's Meowscarada EX. And I'll be honest with you guys, this card confuses me. This confuses me a lot. With the move Flower Trick, 1 grass energy. Choose a spot from among your opponent's active spot and bench. Okay. And then at the end of your opponent's next turn, do 70 damage to the Pokemon in the spot you chose. Now, just from reading this and trying to understand it, the obvious selection is active spot being the most easiest. If you choose the active spot, even if they swap, whoever is in that active spot the next turn will take the 70 damage. However, if this is also what I'm thinking, this is a really good counterplay into, or not even counterplay, but like combo play into Cyrus and Sabrina, because if they have something in the back that you're afraid they're going to switch in and this active Pokemon is going to get away and survive off of 70 HP, well, then you can choose that other Pokemon spot that you know for a fact that's what they're going to swap in next turn, and you'll guarantee that the point or 2 points for you because they'll only switch with that Pokemon, meaning the active Pokemon is now in that spot. It's not like they can switch to the different spot. It goes to the exact spot that it is switching with. I can't even speak because it's so confusing. But if that's how it works, I feel like this could have some really interesting interactions in the game. And then you have a 2 energy Solar Beam move that deals 80 damage. What's really also interesting is I guess you could run the non-EX with this, which is ironic because this guy would deal extra damage, a total of 130 into EXs. So I could see matchups where like non-EX Meowscarada is potentially even knocking out Meowscarada EX. But yeah, anyway, those are all the new cards that we saw in the Paldean Wonders set trailer. We also saw some other Pokemon. Let's see if I can show you guys real quick. All right, this is the best way for me to show you guys with the background of the trailer. We have Squawkabilly, maybe getting a Squawkabilly EX that mulligans your entire hand. Maybe a Pawmot EX. I don't know. It won't work with Nemona. Aroblova. I forget the name of this guy. But the thing that caught my attention is the Xianpao all the way up here. Can you guys see that? I would be so surprised if we don't get a Xianpao EX or something in this set. Like, why even put this guy up here? Like, it's literally kind of hidden, but kind of not. But anyway, guys, I just wanted to really rant and talk about the revealed cards a little more in depth. And just wanted to open up the floor, see what you guys think. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Later.